yoga with Danny this morning, and a few of you. Wasn't the greatest participation in the world, no judgment, no judgment. But in terms of this morning, Danny did a lot of time stretching us, but also centering us. And I wasn't here yesterday, but I understand you guys have been talking a lot about wellness. I feel like I should have lost some weight in this thing too. Talking about wellness and also talking about removing technology from your day, your sleep, your night, all those kinds of things. And we are going to talk about technology. We're going to talk about AI. And part of yoga and the message there is very much yin and yang. And so I think oftentimes in life we want things to all be one way. We don't want dysfunction, we want teamwork. We don't want pain, we want joy. We don't want bad, we want good. We think we can remove all the technology, everything would be wonderful. And the reality is it's very much yin and yang. There's all of these forces. We're going to talk a little bit about fear. We're going to talk a little bit about hope today. One of the things I want to make sure that everybody takes away is there's very much an order of operations to things. Very much an order of operations, to things in your life. What are your priorities? Who do you ultimately serve? When you think about all of the wonderful things in life, and you think about people that you love, children, connections that you have, all of those things are the things that really center us on what is most important. So AI is a force. There is no doubt about that. And not just this conference, but many conferences over the last several years, it's been a heavy, heavy topic. And I want to give you some resources. So at the end of this today, there's a download, there's a QR code, technology, you can snag it. And it's got some priorities that I think every credit union leader needs to set for their organization. 7 expectations, 3 priorities, as well as some things that just have nothing to do with technology that really wonderful credit union leaders are instilling within their organizations today that I think everybody should take a look at and build into what they're doing. And again, you've got to keep yourself centered because there's a lot of these forces that are out there. My name is Conor Smith. I'm the CEO of First Call Computer Solutions. We're an IT cybersecurity provider here in Montana. We're a strategic partner of the Montana Credit Union Association. Work with a lot of you, so I thank you for working with us. It's very much a shoulder-to-shoulder relationship. That's probably been more true this year than any other year because there's a lot of AI being used to do harm within the cybersecurity world. So ultimately, a lot of good things today, but I know you guys face a lot of challenges, and so AI, the term, is often used as artificial intelligence. What I want to encourage you, very selfishly, is to use AI as a term to accelerate improvement. So let's jump in. So in this room, there's probably a lot of people in a lot of different places relative to AI. And one of the things that the media is certainly pushing is that this is this big monster, getting close to Halloween, I think monster is the proper term, force, that AI is going to be this massive change all at once. And those of you that have some gray hair know that there's been many massive changes over the course of your lifetime But if you really look back and break those things down, it was many, many small things, little changes over time that created large transformation. Certainly that was true of the computer. Certainly that was true of the internet. And certainly that's going to be true from AI. So one of the feelings you may be having is like, I'm really behind, I don't understand, I need to get caught up. I need to make big changes, and when you look at this, it's just like any learning curve. You've got to get an understanding of the practical use of it. You're going to then have a dip, all right, I get it, but now how do I use this stuff? And then you're going to build momentum, and again, this curve is going to be solidly 10, 20 years, much the way that the internet has been, just little transformations. Certainly how you've done business as a credit union has had a lot of those changes since the internet was born. Danya, where's my sing song? Is she here? All right, here's one of those forces. Fear says technology's taking over who we are. AI is going to replace judgment, relationship, and jobs. Hope says technology's who we've always been, from the wheel to the calculator to online banking. Humans have always improved tools to extend their abilities, not erase them. Looking good, Renell. Renell was my yoga buddy this morning. Fear says humans can't keep up with the pace of change. Technology is evolving faster than we are. Hope says humans are the original technology, and we've always been able to upgrade through learning, adaptation, and sharing knowledge. Fear says we're doing fine the way we are. New tools feel risky, untested, maybe even like cheating. Hope says improvement is always the right choice, and refusing better tools doesn't make us stronger. When you've been digging with a spoon and someone hands you a shovel, use the damn shovel. So really, we, again, have all these messages of fear. And I spoke at the Women in Banking conference about a month ago, and there was a young gal early in her career. She raised her hand, she asked me this question, and she said, "Have you read The Anxiety Generation?" I said, "I have, got kids." And she really was vulnerable, and she said, I'm really anxious, about the world, where we are, and where we're going, and AI, and all of them just started letting out all of the things, okay? And I really took a pause, and I want to do that for anybody that's feeling that same way within this room. There is a lot of change going on. But in many ways, there's nothing new within the world. There's always dramatic change going on. There's always these forces going back and forth, pulling against one another. And ultimately, what I want to encourage everybody today is to choose humanity. We're all connected to one another. And you have, and if you're like me, you believe there's a higher power related to that. And ultimately, if you keep that centered of human connection, like the sing song last night, and just how connected people were to music and to memories. Every single song that came up, somebody around my table, like Donnie would say, I listened to that album on my honeymoon 100 times, right? And just the connection that made for her, okay? Choose hope. All of these forces, even guys like me, right? Slinging technology at you, day in and day out. It's what I do. But the spirit with which you have to do it is around human and human connection. Please choose hope. Okay, this was at a bankers conference, a lot more corporate, a little more fun, but it's just that simple piece of like, where are you at relative to the AI pool? So show of hands, how many are swimming? You're in the AI camp, right? Yeah, you're swimming.
Yeah.
Okay? You're in the pool. You're using the tools. Okay? How many of you are dipping your toe in? Okay? How many of you are back looking at it? Okay? Very true within lots of organizations. We're doing workshops with lots of different companies and industries across Montana right now. And even 3 or 4 workshops in, right, where the CEO is like saying, team, we got to use this stuff. You know, every workshop I show the pool question, and there's still people on the sidelines, right, still thinking about it. Okay. Ultimately, everybody's going to have to get in the pool relative to credit unions, the workforce. It is going to have universal impacts to what we do and how we do it. Earlier I said a lot of things, hasn't changed. Okay, I've been doing IT work now for 27 years. Okay, and in all 27 years, this is basically it. You got technology, you got people and teams, you got operations. Those 3 things have to work together to produce an outcome. Like nothing new. It's just a new technology that we're now beginning to align with teams and operations. How many of you are leaders within your organization? Okay, so if you don't lead with the new technology and set the example for the team, what's going to happen? Okay, you do have an obligation to choose, and it is a choice every single day, and little things and big things as leaders. Do I choose to improve, or do I choose to stay stagnant? It's a choice every single day. Don't overcomplicate AI. It's just another technology to align with your team, to align with your operations, to help you produce your outcomes. Another view of it, every single credit union in here. Who's the largest one in here? Probably Whitefish and Clearwater, they're not here. Clearwater, okay, Clearwater, all right. You get the largest, okay? Who's the smallest? Which one? Family First out of Great Falls. Okay? Both organizations have technology foundations, some sort of server storage, local or in the cloud, some sort of network, some sort of user devices, some sort of printers. They're trying to manage liability and resilience. They've got security and backups, productivity and collaboration. They've got voice and there's mainline of business applications. The processor, either Microsoft 365 or Workspace. And then they've got data and integration, website, online presence. True for you? True for you?
Yes.
Okay. That's your tech stack. Just know you're now adding AI and automation onto that tech stack. And that process, again, is not one big change. It's many little changes over time in the work that you do to add the new tools, to align it with your team, to align it with your operations. What's the difference between AI and automation? Automation, set of tasks, this happens, this happens, this happens, it happens automatically. Okay, it's just logic, there's not a lot of thinking behind it. With AI, there's analysis, there's thinking. It can look at a complex set of variables and draw conclusions associated with it. Automation, repetitive tasks. Both of these things have to get integrated into your team and operations. Then on the right, there's the management stack. The stuff that folks like me are using to try and keep this stuff up, secure, reliable, recoverable, all of those components. When you think about the AI tech stack, think of it very simply. There's two pools. There's the public pool. You can go to a browser. You can put in ChatGPT into the URL, access AI via the public pool. And there's many examples of that. Credit unions also have to be thinking about private pool. How do I take this technology, add it to my technology stack so that it's integrated and secure, and what I'm putting into it is not going into the public environment? How many of you have established your AI stack, both public and private? Okay. It's a move that you have to make. Keep in mind, ChatGPT got launched in 2022. So we're coming up on 4 years now with this technology. It's not new. 4 years is a long time, right, for this to have matured. And at this point, it has matured to where very cost effectively, you can add a private pool into your stack and begin to leverage it in a safe, effective way. Not a new term to credit unions, right? Acceptable use policies. You already have policies around how to use the internet, how to use the email. You don't just take, information about a member and dump it, into an email and send it off, to somebody. You have many policies that are setting the policy for acceptable use within your organization. And again, AI is just a new technology, and you need to update your acceptable use policy, to reflect what is acceptable use. I think I could say acceptable use a few more times. Unacceptable. All right. For those of you that haven't gotten into the pool, or maybe dipping a toe in, I typically encourage people to be very, very selfish. Okay, think about who you are, what you do, both personally and professionally. How many of you have an assistant? Nobody in this room has an assistant. If you don't have an assistant, who's the assistant? Okay. How many of you dream of having an assistant? Okay. So ultimately, you can have two assistants. All right. When you're thinking about generative AI, you have over here AI assistants, and you can see the brain. This is helping you think. Okay. Think about what you're trying to get done, how you're trying to do it. It answers to questions. Challenge your thinking. How many of you have just used AI, gotten an answer, feel pretty good about it, feel pretty good about your thinking? That's very common. In AI, that's one of the dangers, is it just begins to learn who you are and then give you answers that it thinks is going to gratify you. Okay? So one of the simple tricks is challenge my thinking. Send that in. Ask me one question at a time to clarify my thinking. Have it interview you one question at a time to dive deeper, really get more context about what you're thinking, why you're thinking about it, and the work that you're doing. Okay? You can use that for very simple thinking. You can use that for very complex thinking. If you give it more context about your credit union, the applications that you use, right? the types of people you serve, the market, etc. It will get smarter and smarter and be able to give you greater advice just like a human assistant would. You can also give it a role. Please act like an examiner and help me think through this. Please think like a marketing executive that works with rural credit unions. Help me think through this. It has an infinite number of roles that it can play if you'll simply give it one. Ask it to help you with your thinking and then challenge you. AI agents are a little bit different. Very easy to create. I think it's 6 fields: name, description, instructions. What are the, I think it's called chat questions. So you can give it common chat questions. Which model do you want me to use? And then upload some files to give me some knowledge to do my job. Okay? So one of the examples is, we'll talk about here is, I want to do board reports, and I have to do them every so often. And so here's an AI agent to help me do my board reports, describe what it is, give it instructions, give it knowledge, examples of previous board reports, choose the model, train the agent further and further until it gets really good at building board reports over and over and over again. Agents do one task, you train it to do that task, and it will do it over and over again really well. Sometimes it's lazy, and you have to say, follow the damn instructions, and then it'll do it, okay? So, AI assistants help you with your thinking. AI agents help you to do tasks. This can help you build these. And ultimately, who does it serve? Loud and proud. Me. There we go. It serves us, okay? And then, who do we serve? Our mission, our purpose, our families, our communities, okay? There's an order of operations. The more people that understand that and keep that order of operations, the better the outcomes are going to be with AI. Be very selfish with this, okay? How many people value their time? How many people are running out of time? Okay? This is a very personal, selfish thing. Even if you're not using it at work, 60% of ChatGPT use now is personal. Women now use ChatGPT more than men. When ChatGPT was launched, it was 80% men, 20% women. It's now getting closer to 60-40. Okay? So ultimately, be selfish. Give yourself an assistant. Give yourself agents. It's an infinite number of opportunities to help empower you. For organizations, it can't just be, here's AI, we've launched the tool, we did a great job, we're now using AI. Organizations have to get better outcomes. And organizations are going to get very aggressive about this over the next 3 to 5 years. You're already seeing it within the enterprise. You have to get aggressive with this. How do we get returns on our improvements? So the way to look at it is, what's the activity that I'm doing? How many times do I do it? A day, a week, a month, a year? What's the time investment that it takes? What's the cost per hour? How much time do I think AI could save me? And then what's the return on that improvement? This is where I want you to be very selfish. If you did this, what's the best result that could happen? And if you don't, what's the worst? And really work through that and get to that point where you're excited about that best result. How many of you have full-time jobs? How many of you feel like this is just one more damn thing? Right? Absolutely. Okay? We have to get excited about the change. This is how this is going to help me. And again, for you CEOs, people leading your organizations, get people thinking this way. How is it going to help you? Forget about the organization right now. Get people using it to help themselves. Because if they're feeling more relief, like they're getting improvements from it, personally or professionally, does that affect their wellness? Does that then cascade into the organization? Does that then cascade into the member experience? Oftentimes the CEOs are thinking, organizational change. We're going to radically change what we're doing in our credit union. Bullshit. It's bullshit. It's little changes over time. And if the people aren't positively impacted by it and learn it and feel empowered by it, how fast is that radical change going to happen? Through my board reports in here, right? How many times we do it? We do it 12 times per year, 4 per occurrence, costs us $100 per hour. Time AI could save 75%, probably pretty conservative. We do it 12 times, 4 hours, $100, 75%, $3,600 worth of savings. Okay. Best result, AI drafts the report, reduces prep time significantly, allows executives to focus on more strategic oversight and member engagement. Worst result, everybody's wasting time, delayed reports, reduced strategic focus, missed opportunities. This is like the fear component. Well, I do board reports, so if I'm not doing them, where's my job go? Right? Ultimately, there's things that AI cannot do. And people have got to know what their unique gifts are, what ultimately puts them into that flow state, what are they excellent at, and what are they competent at. And again, these are tools to help you manage the work. They work for you. In many ways, it's a pretty simple process. Again, just using board reports, gather sample documents. Okay, this is what's called data sets. What do I want the thing to do? How would I train it? So just if you were hiring a human to do this, you would say, well, here's our monthly financial statements, here's our member growth statistics, compliance audit summaries, KPIs, recent marketing operational highlights. These are all of the pieces that we need to pull together to get that board report out. Here's the output I want, the historical example. Create the agent. Here's the name of it, here's the description, here's the instructions, here's the knowledge base. Test it. Modify those instructions, improve it. Train it to the point where it's getting 80-90% of the work done, and then you can finish up the 10%. This is one of the most user-friendly technologies out there. It doesn't take a coder or a programmer to get this done. Conducting employee reviews. Okay, you could use a GPT or even just a chat to interview you one question at a time. Ask me questions about this person, right? What are they doing well? What are they struggling with? What do I want to, just ask you questions. You can do this while you're driving down the road with the ChatGPT app. Just have a voice conversation with it. How many of you know you can call 1-800-CHAT-GPT and have a conversation there to get answers? Okay. Ultimately, it's these fundamental steps working through it. CEOs in the room? Okay. Different size of organizations all have CEOs. CEOs are all doing strategic thinking, okay? But for smaller credit unions, the percentage of time that you're spending doing strategic thinking is different than a large one. Because in smaller ones, you're wearing a lot of hats. You're doing a lot of doing, you're doing a lot of managing, and the bucket of strategic thinking is smaller, but you're doing it. That's true with large credit unions, except much more time is spent strategic thinking, much less time is spent doing managing and doing, okay? AI can help you with all three, regardless of the size of the organization. How many of you have your strategic planning session coming up, or maybe even the books, for 2026? Okay. With those objectives, or the objectives that you're thinking about, what are the key metrics? What does winning look like for you in 2026? What are the barriers from getting from where you are to those goals? Giving AI that context, and then working through, ask me more questions, one question at a time, so that it can interview you, act like a strategic consultant, give it a role for small credit unions or for large credit unions, right? Whitefish just showed up in Missoula, so Clearwater is like, oh, our big challenge is whitefish. I don't know. Ultimately, it's going to continue to ask you questions, very smart questions, okay? How many of you have kids? Okay, what happens when you tell kids to do stuff? Right? Kids learn more from behavior, and if you just ask them questions and make them think, okay? If AI can ask you questions and make you think differently, does anything change until that kid's thinking changes? Hell no. Especially if his name's Camden and he's 16 years old. But once his thinking changes, everything changes, okay? If you can have AI ask you really good questions that really make you think, your thinking will change. And if your thinking changes, things can change. Credit unions are so wonderful at collaboration. I was talking to one of the vendors last night, and it was their first time here, and just began mentioning what a small, intimate, community of credit unions and leaders this is. And for us at First Call, we're involved in 13 or so different industries across the state, and this one is unique. COVID is a really good example. When COVID kicked off, the credit union community, they were all on the phone, conferences, connecting with one another. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? How are we going to navigate this? Super collaborative. Many other industries, siloed, right? You really need to recognize what a wonderful collaborative environment that you already have, okay? You're simply going to need to add AI as a collaborator, okay? The association is trying to do that to get more vendors who are providing tools, more speakers, right? But ultimately, leaders have to drive, the change. And so really want to encourage you all to add AI to your collaboration structure that you've already built. I think we're about out of time here. I do want to leave the door open for questions. We can also do some workshop types of things and do a little show and tell. But this is the download, okay? And again, there's in this download, there's 3 priorities every credit union leader should be setting for their organization. Seven priorities as well. And then there's just those elements that, again, have nothing to do with technology that credit union leaders that are really excelling, in my opinion, are setting within their organization. So you can grab that download. All of you need to run, all of you need to protect what you build for yourself and for your members. All of you need to comply, grow, and modernize. Our approach is very intimate with the organizations that we work with, very shoulder-to-shoulder approach. Again, very human-based. So I want to encourage you, all, as you're looking at AI and this technology, yeah, it's another shoulder that you can add, but don't lose sight of the real shoulders that you serve. Questions, comments, or any kind of, well, let's just start with that. Questions? Barriers. Barriers holding anybody back or their organization back. Not enough coffee is one barrier. Strategy, get more coffee. Chris?
It's just personal information, whether it be members or organizational information that all of a sudden is no longer yours. Goes out someplace, someone else is using it. How do you know that's not happening?
Well, I'll answer that a couple of different ways.
Conor, could you repeat?
Yes, thanks, Tanya. Question is as data goes out into these models, right? Where does it go, right? And how do you know it? So I answer that a couple of different ways. How many of you believe you have privacy? The reality is America gave up on privacy in the George Bush administration. And I forget what the bill change was, but I think it was the Patriot Act, okay? And ultimately, with that act, it's like, hey, we're gonna give up privacy, and but we're gonna keep you safer, right? That was the general message. Europe has a very different approach and is really pushing very hard on tech companies for privacy. So I just don't want any myth out there that you somehow have all your information, that it's not already out there for the government, for large tech companies. I mean, the reason why those smart TVs are so cheap is they are gathering information on everything that you watch, right? And then sharing that information with the advertisers. The TV money-making model is not selling you the TV, it's gathering the information and working with Netflix and YouTube and NBC and Paramount and all of those organizations in the world. So again, eyes wide open, privacy's not a huge thing within the United States of America. Regardless of how you feel about it, like that's the fact. With these models, right, AI has been trained on a lot of this information already, okay? So my main advice for you in terms of organizationally is build a private pool, right? And there's ways to do that with Anthropic, there's ways to do that with Microsoft, there's ways to do that with ChatGPT, to set up technology that is private to you, that explicitly states this is not being used to train any public model. This is your information, your proprietary confidentiality, and they have a big stake in keeping that. ChatGPT is definitely dominating right now in terms of the public market, right? People like you and me. But the enterprise fight is still out there, and everybody in the enterprise that's fighting for market share knows if you can't guarantee the enterprise security of their information, you will not play. And that's not just true within regulated entities, it's more true within regulated entities. And there will be more controls that align with government policy, but it's true for every business, within the United States. now so more than ever, because of the number of attacks, that are coming into America for our information. Probably a super warm, fuzzy answer, Chris. You're naked, you're exposed. I can't put it back in.
Like it's still, as we're talking to, credit unions or just the data, right? Like in Minnesota, the target data breach is still something there, right? Somebody who's not even associated with the business comes in, does something. Now you've got this large customer data breach of information. So that kind of, even in these private environments, you would be then theoretically safe to take.
How many of you have
social security number, all that, put it in there and actually learn from it?
How many of you have some form of a compliance officer, chief information security officer, right?
Not most.
Not most, right? But you can get that as a fractionalized service for companies like First Call, right? To help you in terms of what are these technologies, how are we going to secure them, how are we going to back them up, how are we going to recover the information? If an event happens, how do we work with the insurance company? What's reportable, what's not reportable? How do we work through those authorities? This is both for the small and large. It sounds like, only large credit unions can do this. But with fractionalized services, you can get those things in place for your credit union and get those answers. And you have to have those answers specific to your organization and to your technology stack. And it's, this is not new stuff, right, for banks or credit unions, right? It's where is our information? How are we protecting it? How can we recover it? And what do we do in the event of a breach, business email compromise, ransomware, right? XYZ. And then you have been managing for a long time the supply chain. And this is just another part of the supply chain. Just like your data is in Microsoft 365, your data is going to be within a private pool within ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot or Anthropic. And you just have to have controls around those things. So I hate to answer a question, Chris, with this isn't anything new. It's just a new technology that you've got to put controls around. There you go. Yeah.
What's one of the coolest, most innovative things you've seen from a financial institution using AI? Or maybe even, what's something that just has a big impact? Maybe it's not super cool and exciting, but it has a big impact on their organization.
Yeah, I think the things that are probably most exciting to organizations is more around the notion of automation. So you already have your tech stack largely set. These are the key applications that we use. This is where our data's at, right? But there's still a lot of manual intervention to get data from point A to point B, to produce a certain outcome. And so sticking automation in the mix by connecting these various systems together so that they can talk together, work together, and build agents around those things to actually, this gets done, and when that gets done, this gets done, and when that gets done, this gets done. That's really the enterprise most exciting, sexy thing is when those things can work together and connect the dots, and you're just making sure that the workflows and the agents have the instructions that they need. Everything else is very much independent at this point. I've built this agent to help my department do these various sets of tasks, but they're very siloed. Once you get out, and again, there's levels to this, get good at this yourself, be very selfish with it. Then start to think about your position and how can I make this more programmatic to serve my position or other people in the same position. Then how can I get it to serve my department? He's obviously a CEO because he's like, what's the big sexy thing we can go do? I get the pull. That's utopia, where all of these agents are working for people and they're aligned and they can talk amongst the systems and there's very clear workflows. We're a long way from that for most organizations. And again, like the simple questions I asked, how many of you have full-time jobs? right? How many of you would like an assistant, right? How many of you are in the pool? Not as many, right? We're very early involved with this. So from the CEO standpoint, I'm constantly like, I get your excitement, I get where you want to go, but there's a lot of building blocks, to get there.
You made the point about the, how many of you out there, this is just another thing we have to do. A lot of us in that boat trying to figure it out. What would be like some, any thoughts on just really good, quick resources? It seems like a lot of this is about understanding how to prompt, what questions to ask, do those things, kind of learn back and forth. I've been using
My number one thing is curiosity. Like even the notion of prompt, please don't use that term, right? Just talk with it. How many here know how to talk? Like this technology is designed to speak and work with you very naturally. But if you're not curious, or you're apprehensive because you've defined it in your mind as that's not for me, it's bad for society, it's gonna harm kids, it's gonna harm jobs, whatever it is, that's all fear. And the counter to that is the hope piece. So be hopeful, be curious, get in there, don't be intimidated by the technology. Grab somebody at your organization that's already in there and just be like, show me, okay? Download the app on your phone, right? How many of you are driving home? How many of you like to have deep thoughts while you're driving home? Right? Have a conversation, okay? How many of you got Thanksgiving coming up? How many of you, Thanksgiving can be complicated? Maybe use AI just conversationally to, hey, what do I want to accomplish with AI or with Thanksgiving? What? Ask me questions, like help me get some clarity because I got 30 family members, this one's a pain in the ass, mother-in-law gets lit, like get in context. How can, I really want to enjoy my Thanksgiving. Ask me questions, help me get clarity on that. Again, this is just a friend that never forgets anything, that has read tens of thousands of books on relationships, on family dynamics, on banking, on whatever it is, that you can have a very high quality conversation with, but it won't happen unless you're curious.
Some of the things I've seen about AI, just in general use of public AI, it's a huge energy resource hog. So what type of financial investments should credit unions consider? Do they need extra hardware for this? I know it's mostly software, but it connects to their system. So should it reside separately, and should there be a financial investment for that?
Yeah, so a couple of different trends, and let's talk about Europe for a second, because Europe has a very different view on the world than America. So Europe right now doesn't trust Microsoft, right? American company, all my data's there, I don't like that. So Microsoft is like, well, we'll give you Microsoft 365 to install on your servers, wherever you want it. It doesn't have to be in our cloud. It could be locally within your server environment to make sure that they've got a product that serves the privacy expectations of those countries, okay? So you will see that same kind of thing, and that happens right in enterprise right now, where, PricewaterhouseCoopers, right, they're not using public data centers even for private use. It's in their data center, their own LLMs or large language learning models on their environment, so that they know we have this stuff, it's ours, etc. For most of us, right, in this room, you're going to be securing private space within public data centers. And so to answer your question, you're probably not going to need to make a big capital investment in hardware or technology to support your private pool of AI. Good question. Other questions? All right, I will just finish with how I started. There is an order of operations to things. Keep your priorities straight. Know who you serve, why you serve it. Go out and do wonderful things in this world. AI is just a tool to help you get it done. God bless everybody. Thanks.